And thank you for tuning in. Simon, we haven't done a live stream in a while. It's great to see you. How are
Sam
you
Bailey,
today?
oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so excited for today's announcement. We got some big news to share with everybody this week.
What is the big news that we have today?
Well, we've got full strength at Seven Investing again. We have hired officially our seventh lead advisor. We're ready to introduce him to everyone, chat a little bit about their background, and talk a little bit about the types of stocks that they like to look for.
I am thrilled at this addition to the team. You mentioned that this individual had a PhD, and I was hoping fans of Seven Investing, if you've been with us for a while, you might have an idea of who this is. You might not, but I am so excited. He's going to be an incredible asset to the team. But Simon, I will hand the honors over to you to announce him.
Well, let's welcome in as the third window of the live stream here, Christoph Piekarski, who is our seventh advisor here at Seven Investing. Christoph, welcome to the team. Welcome to Seven Investing.
Simon, Sam, I'm so glad to be here with you guys. So excited to be on this journey.
Christoph, we're pumped up to have you too. Just to say a couple of words before I start asking you the tough questions. I'm so happy to have you as part of this team. Christoph, I really feel is a very critical thinker. Somebody that looks at, the second and the third and the fourth layer deep of everything that he looks into. Of course, there's applications for that for stock picking and investing. Christoph, you really, break things down to a higher level. And I'm really excited to have you as part of the team. Can you tell us first a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. I took the long journey to the United States, paddling a little canoe when I was 6, landing on the shores of Brooklyn, New York, from behind the Iron Curtain in Warsaw, Poland. From the Soviet bloc to New York City, I grew up on the East Coast, went to school in Western Massachusetts, and then I made my way to Austin, Texas, where I live now, to pursue a graduate degree in English literature. My undergrad, by the way, was in English, but also biology. So I started investigating multiple sides of seeing the world quite young.
I love the Western migration, first to New York and then in Austin, Texas. Hook 'em horns, right, Sam Bailey? We're Longhorn fans on this team. Had no factor in the decision-making of the advisor, of course. But Christoph, you said that, you've been there, but you actually kind of have a commitment through your professional career to education. Tell us a little bit about your experiences with that.
Yeah, my entire professional career has been in education. After college, 8 weeks after graduating, I started the Teach for America program, where I was placed in Jersey City, which was half a mile to the west of the World Trade Center. And I started in September of 2001. So that was a life-altering experience. After Teach for America duties ended, I taught on the graduate level at UT. Then I taught at a private boarding school in Vermont, which was really tremendously valuable. It's an art school called the Putney School, where they got rid of grades and they focused entirely on the quality of learning and milking cows at 5:30 in the morning. And then I taught at a liberal arts college in Washington State and taught in a state penitentiary, Walla Walla State Penitentiary, where, incidentally, I had some of my best students. So after which, then I flew back down to Austin, Texas, and I started teaching at UT. So it seems like I've covered most of the angles of education, from private, public, small, large, and everything in between.
This is fantastic. One of the things I'm most excited about working with you is that your love of education certainly translates to Seven Investing, where it's our mission to empower others to be better investors. What goals do you have for joining this team? You've been in education for 2 decades. Are there certain things you'd like to accomplish now as a lead advisor on Seven Investing?
Yeah, there's so much that is doable and so much to learn. And I think learning is my core, the place where I try to live from. The world changes. I think the fundamental principle I work from is that the world is change. And that's not a negative. That's not meant to come across as either negative or positive. It's just a fundamental law. Everything changes, and so it seems to me that the moment that all this education that when we're young ought to be to learn how to continue learning. It's not that you learn when you're young and then you stop. I think that's a problematic model. So I think my intention is to make learning a centerpiece of what we do at Seven Investing, learning together. One project I already have in mind is starting a dedicated book club where we select a business-oriented book, and that could be a wide gamut of things. And then we study it together, and then we apply the principles and learn and learn and learn and deepen and deepen and deepen to better able face the complexities of this world, which are not decreasing anytime soon. So book club, get ready. Seven Investing Book Club.
I'm looking forward to it. And there's no doubt the world is constantly changing. Sam, you might remember that Christoph was a writer for Seven Investing during this past year. We featured some of his articles about decision-making process, about why not to panic during volatility, about kind of these deeper investing concepts, not just stock picks, not just reviews of earnings, but kind of more that, that important parts of being an investor, especially as a long-term investor. He's the only guest writer we've ever had on Seven Investing. So it's kind of awesome to now translate that into advisor updates, podcasts, and this continual learning, like you were mentioning. Christoph, let's talk stocks a little bit, though. Our audience is investors. I'm sure they would like to know a little bit about the types of companies that you typically invest in.
Yeah, so I'll actually talk a little bit more about the process rather than any particular companies.
Mm-hmm.
I try to focus as best I can on companies that have what I internalize as doing something important and that privilege quality over quantity. And so I'm always looking first and foremost about people. Like I look at the people in charge. The kinds of companies are conglomerates of people. And I need people at the very top to be creative, open-minded thinkers. I also need them to be what I think of as call it ethically oriented, so that they're not causing more harm than good. So that's a first principle. And then I think of, I guess, optionality would be the technical way of thinking about it. But how can we grow this company over a long period of time? So it's not a rush for easy profits. It's not taking advantage of the bottom line to impress somebody on one quarter's earnings call. But are they thinking big term? Are they thinking what is good for not just the company, but for the investors and for the people of this world? And that kind of long-term vision with good people at the top who are committed to a mission of creating value for humans. Give me those boxes, and that's where I'm looking.
I love it. Some bigger picture trends, the people part of it, very important. Christoph, you spent the last couple of years kind of digging into character also. In fact, you've also kind of built out a separate kind of a podcast and a newsletter and things called Character by Design. Tell me a little bit about what that means.
Sure. It's so one of my most committed efforts of the past 15 years has been to study Zen. And Zen is a deep, long tradition of 2,500 years dedicated to examining one's own mind. The practice itself is founded on sitting still and watching what your mind comes up with, so that you're not fooled by the randomness and the thought, so that there's some distance between what you think and what might actually be real out there. And so in this tradition, there's a small discipline of it is called the 6 paramitas, which are the 6 qualities that a human can cultivate in order to develop character that then withstands the winds of change and the difficulties that all life encounters. And those 6 qualities tend to revolve, they are the quality of generosity, the quality of energy, the quality of patience, the quality of morality, the capacity to watch your mind, and then this kind of, I would call everything, all of those run on something we call wisdom. And so there are ways to actually train these things in yourself. And the more you train, the more your character begins to, I would say, develop.
I love it. It's kind of the same journey of investing, right? Investing is not just picking a stock, getting in for a couple of months and then disappearing. It's a long-term process that is meant to enable your future. Right? Everyone has a different future they want to achieve from this. And okay, Christoph, okay, great. We talked about stocks. We talked about your background. Let's have a little bit of fun with this too. I know you're in Austin, so you know how to have a good time. What are a couple of personal interests that you've got that we can chat with you about?
I will say that the reason to live in Austin, the thing I do, I think, every single week, no matter what, is wake up early in the morning on Saturday, 6 a.m. We're talking 6 a.m. here. Go on a long run in the Greenbelt, which is this it's this amazing 8-mile long trail in the middle of Austin that feels you might as well be in the middle of the boonies. You got snakes and river crossings and rocks and all kinds of paths. I get my run in, and then immediately afterwards, that's at the head of what's called Barton Springs, which is this pool of water that stays 68 degrees all year round that comes up from the aquifer. So it's fresh, clean, pure, delicious, ice cold water. So in the summertime, when it's already, I guess when I'm done, it's around 8 a.m. I'm already soaked in sweat, right? It's humid. Go right in and dive into that fresh crispness. That's a reason to stay in Austin. To never move from this place. Free before 8 a.m. too. So
perfect. Yeah, not a whole lot of people. Sam, I don't think I ever made it to Barton Springs at 8 a.m. on a Saturday.
I was about to say, I made it to Barton Springs, and then you said 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and no, I've not made it.
It was delightful there, though. And Christoph, I see a lot of books, not only on the bookshelf, but also on the desk behind you. I think you have what's called bookwormitis is the condition that you describe it as, too.
Yes, it's a sad condition to have, especially when I haven't learned to read yet. But yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm fascinated by ideas. I'm fascinated by what human beings are capable of creating when they work together. I mean, it's stunning. If you take a step back, it's stunning that these creatures that we are, we've gone to the moon, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's just it really blows the mind, and we've only done it by I would say collaboratively pooling our knowledge together and then building and building and building on top of it. And all of this knowledge lives in these little square artifacts. And the reason I continue collecting books rather than, say, going on Kindle is because just looking at a binding in the title, I can remember why I bought it and what idea is theoretically lives in there. So even though I might not have read it yet, it's like, oh, that idea, which idea should I go next, or which idea should live next to what other idea? And that gets me to this conciliatory place where I'm mixing disciplines and call it connecting dots that are not yet that have not yet been connected. And I think that's where the greatest returns in investing come from. It's being early to an idea that's there if you know where to look at, and then emerges over time. So I love having these physical artifacts of ideas just to look at the bindings and get inspired.
Absolutely. Christoph, you've got some good books in the background of your office there. Sam, you've got some good books in the background of your office there. I recognize Innovator's Dilemma and a few others. Plenty of learnings in those, plenty of learnings that we're going to share about investing that I'm pretty excited about. Christoph's not only going to be contributing to our podcast, but also to our advisor updates, as well as the stock picks themselves. Christoph, I know you also just went to the Consensus Conference in Austin on 7 Investing's behalf. You have an interest in cryptocurrencies as well, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and that stems from this fundamental quality I try to always cultivate, which is curiosity. Regardless of the problems and the things that are unknown and the complications, it seems undeniable to me that this whole burgeoning industry is full of some of the world's smartest, most creative, most curious people. And when you have that kind of critical mass, I try to pay attention and say, what's going on over there? What are they up to? What is the potential of this stuff? And I think my many decades of investing now have taught me to mix this curiosity with analytical rigor and remain interested without necessarily falling into scammy traps or pitfalls that are more hopey and more rah-rah than fundamentally sound. And so going to Consensus, I saw this mixture of brilliance and brilliant ideas and energy and creativity and building, along with I have no idea what that is, and I don't know if that's a good place to hang out, and it's so thrilling. I can't wait to see how this whole thing evolves, and I feel like we're so lucky to be alive during this era of human innovation. Speaking of Mr. Innovator himself, I mean, it's just so joyful and exciting.
It sure is. And you mentioned @7 Innovator. That's my Twitter handle. You have a new Twitter handle now, Christoph, as well. How can people interact with you out on Twitter?
So I changed my Twitter handle from CXD, which was my old character by design handle, to 7 Flying Platypus.
And what does that? That's one's going to stick with you, Sam. We can't forget that one ever. What led you to that name, Christoph? It's an intriguing one.
The platypus came up during a therapy session I was doing in a therapy training, where I also do therapeutic. I dabble in the therapeutic arts. Is another side project of mine to better understand how we construct our own views and core beliefs. And during this practice session, the lead trainer was working with me in the state of mindfulness. And out of that state of mindfulness and deep interrogation, a platypus showed up, flying out in the deep cosmos, trying to shepherd me from one shore to another. And I think it's a good emblem for how I see myself, this weird creature who dabbles in many different arts, gets put together, looks weird. You don't know really what to make of it at first sight, but it seems to do well. It seems to have evolutionarily fooled a lot of people, but still gets things accomplished. So, and it gives me a lot of joy thinking about just looking at a platypus. So I also hope to bring a lot of happy energy to people and spark that curiosity. as represented by this crazy creature.
We embrace that. We embrace crazy creatures around here at Seven Investing. At Seven Flying Platypus, for anyone who wants to chat with Christoph or welcoming him to the team. But I would like to be the first one to officially here out in the public welcome you to Seven Investing, Christoph. I'm very excited to work with you in the coming years.
Likewise, Simon. I can't wait for this journey. It's such a fascinating time to be alive. Investing means deliberately cultivating your views and being disciplined about what is the most important thing, to areas to look and think about. And I couldn't be more happy to work with this team that you've so graciously assembled.
There's a lot of brain power on this team, Sam. We've got a lot of different corners of the market covered now, whether it's biotech, whether it's AI, whether it's financial services, whether it's deeper level thinking about how to invest in decision-making and creativity. This is really, truly remarkable and exciting time for Seven Investing. Excited to have Christoph on board again at Seven Flying Platypus, if you'd like to chat with him there. He's jumping into the process right now. His first stock recommendation will be on August the 1st. We're going to give him a couple of weeks to hit the ground running here. And then we're going to have his first recommendation out there for August. In the meantime, you can get back up to speed with several of Christoph's articles that you can find on the Seven Investing site, as well as a podcast that Chris and I did from a couple of months ago. So, Sam, any final words? It's so exciting to be back at full strength, have our seventh advisor here announced here this morning.
We couldn't have a better addition to the team. I'm so excited, and we will share some of Christoph's previous articles on Twitter now that the announcement is made, so you can refresh yourself with some of his writing. So we'll share that as soon as we wrap up here today.
Absolutely. And he'll be part of our next subscriber call here coming up in July. Look for him there. We'll be able to interact with him at that. In the meantime, enjoy our June recommendations that are out. We'll have a new batch for you in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to chatting with Christoph, both on Twitter and on the Seven Investing discussion boards. Hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for tuning in here this morning.